And we are live. Okay, so happy that we are doing this. Two
I know.
coaches in the room on different countries and everything. But yeah, I'm really happy that we are doing this together because I definitely think that like we can bring kind of like the another perspective for people who really want to gain success in any way. And definitely that is something that we are going to talk about. What exactly is success for different people? So Tasmin, thank you so much for joining. And what is success for you? We can start from there.
Yeah, success changes as people change different chapters in their life. For me, success right now is having peace, having that feeling of peace that this is it. I'm good. The family are good, health are good. We live in a lovely place which is near lots of greenery, which for me is very important. I have time for my family. I have time to be there for them if they need me. So I don't like to have a jam-packed diary. Otherwise, I don't have any flexibility. So that's another thing. Flexibility is important. Contribution is important. I got to a certain age where I think, okay, if I learn all of these things, which I have been, because, like you and me, if growth is important, you learn. Then what am I going to do with those learnings? I want to share them with others. Um, I love cooking. So I try to do things where I can tick many boxes. Us Indian people, we like a bargain. Right? So I love cooking and I love contributing. So one of the things I do is I'll cook for the homeless shelter once every now and then. So it ticks many boxes for me. Whereas I think, 20, 30 years ago, the idea of success would have been very different. And I think that's one of the things I wanted to share today, that what is important for you in one decade might not necessarily be the same. So pause and think regularly. Pause and think, what is success for me right now?
I love that. I love that. And like not even just like decade. I'm like 34, like but 10 years ago I was just like career, like career sex, success, like salary, job titles, like as much as possible, like do learn work, like 12 hours. For me hasn't been like problem. I was also working like as a bartender in the States. And like I was working more than like 12 hours since like 7 a.m., 7:30 in the morning until 11:30, like, and I was like, I was earning my money for master degree. I was like, nothing is problem, like, but now, like I'm not, like it's totally like different. And I really can relate to you, like peaceful morning, slow morning, like before then I was starting my coaching, my business, I really wanted to prove, I really wanted to kind of like contribute as many clients as want, like, and then in every stages, it's kind of like different. The way how I want to spend my day, I think that is like totally different now versus like 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the important distinction is don't live your life, but lead your life. Be the leader that is going to have a vision for your life, have a strategy for your life, take aligned action. So we're very good at doing these for other people, for the corporations that we work for, or if you're a freelancer, the clients you work for, you do it for them. But the most important thing is your life. So do it, lead your life.
It's so interesting that like we are doing more for everybody else than it's for us.
Yeah,
And
yeah, true.
then, and even like I had another call with my client, and like she was like, yeah, I'm definitely more happy, like sometimes the money, success, career is not the most important thing for this year. Sometimes we're really looking towards to fulfillment, happiness, any kind of freedom, family time. And I see the most and biggest frustrations are happening when we are not living our life resonating with our current values. So these
Yeah.
kinds of things can really impact our inner peace, stress, and frustration when we want something, but we are not allowing ourselves to want, but like to prove to our boss, to clients, like work 12 hours per day or something like that. And then the internal conflict is happening and it's burning us down.
Yeah. And you know what? Don't get me wrong. I'm all for hard work, ambition, do all of those things. I'm at a certain age where many of my friends are beginning to think about retirement, and I'm building. Now, if I wasn't feeling peaceful, happy with my support network around me, time with my grandchildren, I would not be as focused. I would not be as productive. I would not be as clear about what I wanted my life to look like. So for those people who are thinking, oh, you know what, I'm just going to work harder to get to that next level, and family, friends, hobbies, health can wait, it doesn't work. It might work, if you've got a project that you need to deliver in the next 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 weeks, and you know that you're going to have to, if you're writing a book and you're going to lock yourself up and concentrate on that. I've been in those times myself, but I have spoken to my family, especially when I was a single mother. And there was a time when it was just myself and my daughter. My son had gone to uni. And I said to her that I'm coming to this really important period of this project, and I'm not going to be able to give you that much time. Now, she wasn't 5, okay? So I didn't not feed her. She was 15 at the time. And I said, is that okay with you? Are you okay with that? And she said, sure. And I showed her my plan for the next 6 weeks. And I said, at the end of the 6 weeks, how are we going to celebrate? And she said, I want to go to the cinema. Fine, done. So she was part of my journey. I didn't neglect her, I included her. So I'm not telling anyone listening that you should sacrifice your ambition, especially if it's something that lights you up. That those are the things that you are meant to do. But do it in such a way that you don't deny yourself those sources of energy that are actually going to help you deliver that project.
Yeah. And also, if we are not allowing ourselves to do what we really want, especially for ambitious people, mothers, like definitely it will impact other aspects of our lives, especially relationships or like any relationships in our lives, because we can do both. Sometimes we can't do it like at one time, but definitely, as you mentioned, like including others in our goals, in sharing like why we want to do these kinds of things, like in
Yeah.
which periods of life, like, and definitely helping also like our circle to even like grow from, especially like in our knowledge that we are, acquire across the years, so we can even like share and like they can understand, because definitely when once they are understanding, we will have that like bigger support and we will be able to work on our dreams. On your journey, like what helped you to really be authentic in the way that you are achieving your dreams versus like what is right for the environment, what is expected for me for this part of life, years, and like these kinds of things?
I think self-awareness has been key. So self-awareness at the beginning was something I had to learn how to do. We don't often at school in our childhood receive that education of how do you know who you are and what's important to you. How do you check in with yourself? You said that we often look after our clients, the organizations, better than we look after ourselves. In a day, how many times are you going to ask someone, oh, Adriana, how are you? Oh, so and so, how are you? How are you? When do you ask yourself, what do you need today? So I think from the beginning, it's like learning a car. I felt like I was relearning how to drive a car. I had to write my thoughts down and read them and understand them and decipher them. Now I've become increasingly better at it, at checking in with myself. I received this offer of work. Does this align with me? Is it going to take me away from what is valuable to me? So, an example, our daughter-in-law, she said, we're going to have another baby. So this was at the end of last year. So I blanked out July and August, saying, okay, I'm not going to do any heavy work then. I will start doing workshops, so forth afterwards. So that's one thing, really knowing who you are, what you want to do in a very crude fashion. If being at home is important to you and it grounds you, and you receive a proposal saying, take this job and you're going to have to travel all around the world, I'm not saying don't do it, but ask yourself, why am I taking that? Because it's not aligned with me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you still will take it because maybe it's giving you so much money that you won't have to work for the rest of the year, or maybe you're going to visit places that you really wanted to visit. So it's, who are you? And if you align life to that, there will be less friction, less pressure, more success, authentic success. And the journey will be so much nicer than if you're going to take on a job, project, a client that isn't.
And it's helping us to grow more in the way that we want. When we know, okay, I'm for this, I like this, I don't like this, I'm not good for this, but I really enjoy this. And it's really helping us to grow in the way that like it feels easy and natural for us. And it's in the end of the day, then we are achieving that success more naturally because we saw what is for us, where we want to go, what we don't want to. And I really see that like people are struggling a lot with putting distractions away, with saying no to the opportunities that they are not aligned. But that scarcity mindset is just like, let's take everything. But like when we are taking every opportunity, every client project that is coming to me, then I really can focus on the things that are really matter for me and where I will have the biggest impact. And also it's helping us to really prioritize, okay, I want to do this. I have the energy, like we have just like 24 hours. I need to sleep 8 hours. If I don't sleep 8 hours, like I am, like grumpy and everything. So in the end of the day, we have maybe a block of 7-8 hours to do what we want. And if we are not prioritizing in the way where we will feel the biggest impact for us, like then every other like negative emotion that is leading to the burnout, dissatisfaction, frustrations are coming in our way. And then every day multiply by 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, then we have, like crazy people walking on the street.
Yeah. I have so many clients that had reached a certain level and they said, I thought I would get here and feel happy, but I don't. I feel frustrated. I wake up thinking, surely there is more to life than this. And the truth is, there is more to life than that. But we often, we go on a path that we think is the right path because society tells us, or parents will tell us, or whatever. And then we are running on this. And the world is going faster and faster and faster. Unless you get off autopilot and ask yourself, am I who I want to be? Am I living the life I want to live? Is this what my character? Am I happy with my character? Because in a world filled with advice saying, build your brand, build your brand, build your brand, I'm saying build your reputation, because that's what personal brand used to be before this new world of personal branding came in. What's your character? What's your reputation? Are you happy with that? Are you happy with the way you speak to your partner, the way you speak to your own children, the way you speak to your colleagues, your team? Are you happy with that? And does it feel like you? Does that success feel like you?
Yeah,
Question that everyone should ask.
because in the end of the day, we can have that external success, like people are just like imagining like who is the
Yeah.
successful person and like what they are achieving. But like the feelings that we are feeling on daily basis during our day are actually real success. And definitely we will have these different emotions, like even like loneliness, angry, sadness, and like these kinds of things. But really, like people don't realize that like all these emotions can be processed, and that there has been a trigger during the day, during some email, during some comment, during something that triggered something in us that we are feeling angry, doesn't matter how. So definitely when we are starting with the self-awareness, what I really see it's making us to progress more in any way in life is also knowing how to process feelings on daily basis. So we are putting that weights that we have holding like for the last, at least me, like 30 years, and then really living the life in the way that I really want now. Maybe it will be changing in the 5, 10 years, but now being okay with the life that I have today.
Yeah. Because feelings is data. We are told in SEO, be curious and look at the data and think, oh, what's going on there? Or how can I solve this? But in our own lives, that feeling comes and we push it away. We don't want to deal with it. But actually, if you look at it, instead of running faster and faster, thinking that feeling will go away, it will for a little while, but then something else will happen, another trigger will happen, and another, and another. And you'll wake up one day thinking, why does this keep happening to me? It's telling you something. It's giving you information. So even when you have a trigger, be grateful for the trigger. It's the bug that if you fix, life becomes nicer. Will there be another bug? Sure, there will be. But
Yeah,
keep on fixing.
yeah, triggers are just opportunities for the growth, actually, and like how we are going to succeed in any way is by the growth. And sometimes the growth comes in different formats, and it's not just like the KPI and measurement of the money, of the career title, of the like new bigger company, new bigger clients. It's also coming with a different format of fulfilling our parts of the personality that we have.
I've started to use this analogy that seems to be landing with clients, with other people, that if you think of your life as a house, there is a room for career, there is a room for hobbies, there is a room for health, there is a room for your personal relationships, there's a room for friends, all of those things, all of the things that are important to you. Think of it as a house. Now ask yourself, which are the bigger rooms? Because they have to be appropriate. So if we think of a normal house and you think of a kitchen and you think of the size of a downstairs toilet, now you wouldn't build a kitchen in the downstairs toilet because it's too small. You need more space. So if you think of your life as this house and really reflect on, my personal relationship room is quite small. And my career room is like a ballroom, like massive.
Top roof.
Is this the way I want to build this house? No, maybe I need to adjust. But the whole house, all of the rooms, is sitting on a foundation layer. And that foundation layer is you. So sometimes you might think, oh, my career's a bit wobbly. Let me go and get a career coach, or my relationship's a bit wobbly. Let me go and get a relationship coach. And they may help. No doubt they will give you something that will help that room become less wobbly. But think the foundation is that one. Because the thing that will make everything in your life better is if you build yourself.
And you basically mentioned a great point about, like we want different things. And like when I'm talking with the SEOs, like they want freedom, they want flexibility, they want money, they want career, like high paying SEO clients, but also happiness, fulfillment. But the biggest challenge is that like they can't go away from the proving their value, their worth as a professional in order to gain fulfillment or happiness. Because usually when we are, like at the work, and like we are more at the work than like we are with our family, friends, we are kind of really putting all the worth that we are thinking about ourselves, I will put into one bracket, and basically my job will tell everything about me. And because they are so great, and like I was one of them, I was so career oriented and everything, we were so scared of letting that career moment for something, for happiness and fulfillment. But now, like when I'm working with the clients, I'm realizing this is definitely like scarcity mindset, something that is old. It's something that is like from the past, when we have been so insecure, we haven't been developed, like even our mind to really think like who we are. And also our parents and the environment had that impact, saying like how much we are worth regarding how much we are earning or something like that. So how you are seeing that kind of like this discrepancy when people can't just like get rid of the career, even they really want freedom, more flexibility, more time with their families?
You touched on so many great points, and one of the things I wanted to pick up on was when you said parents. For many of us, our parents lived in a very different time. If I think about my parents, they moved countries, they had to start from nothing, and they grew up with very little. So when they taught us, study hard, get a good job, they were doing it to protect us. I get it. No discredit to them. We're in a different space now. So it's about asking, does that value work for me? Because at the end of the day, at some point, you become an adult and you have to make your own choices. And one of those choices is to look at your life, look at who you are, and ask yourself, does this work for me? And be okay with it. I know, I'll give you an example. There are two young men who are in my family, roughly the same age. One of them academically did much more, did, different university, better grades. He could have, in his career, been flying. The other one also did well. But the first one has said, I am happy with this. I have a job, it's secure, I have my family, I spend time with them, I paint, I read, I'm happy, I'm okay with this. The other one has chosen a different path, and that's okay as well. So I think sometimes we compare too much. This one is doing that, so I also have to do it. So that's the first thing. I think also it takes a lot of work, inner work, to develop that abundance mindset. It's hard. And we attach it to money. When we think of wealth, we think of money. When we think of abundance, we think of money. When we think of scarcity, we think about money. But money is just a factor. It's not the be all and end all. If you can wake up in the morning and see all of the wonderful things that in your life, most of us who are listening to this have a home, have good health, have warm running water. We've got electricity. We can put a fan and plug it in and feel cooler. We have a wardrobe full of clothes. We have a fridge full of food. You know what? This is so much more than so many people in the world have. Should you want more? Can you want more? Sure, you can. But if you cannot appreciate what you already have, then what is having more going to do for you?
And I remember always a good example, which I was seeing also my clients have, is like when we starting like the first career after the college. And of course, like we have been broke, like maybe 100 euros or something like that. Then first salary, then the second. Then the first year we were collecting, maybe 1,000 on the savings. The next year, 2,000 on the savings. And we are thinking, when I have like 5,000 in the savings, I will be happy. Then after a few years, you have even more. And then when you're realizing I'm having like even like 10K in the savings, but I'm feeling like the day when I was broke after the college and I was having 100 euros, like in the wallet. So that is like so common thing that whenever we can relate. But usually SEOs and like people that we have been working, they're constantly thinking, once I have, like that money in the wallet, in the savings, I will be happy. And like the small percentage is about the people who are really achieving that number, and they are seeing like nothing changed. And then the kind of like the new signal is coming to our brain, there is something else. And then we are starting to be curious, like what else I need to do to really start feeling good. In that stage, we are not even like ready to think about like, can I feel happy or fulfilled? It's just like, can I feel good enough, or just like good on daily basis? And then like the personal development, the self growth is coming in, and like we are starting to really see these life things in different way. But also I think the biggest trigger is for ambitious people who really want to do a lot of in their work, a lot of in their personal lives, contributions to the different relationships, and they are so scared that like if they stop, if they even like start working on themselves, that like that will impact that ambitious part. But like that's totally not true. So how you are explaining to your clients, like that, like we can be even like more ambitious and even like achieve even bigger things once we really starting to believe in us, to really be grateful for everything that we have today. But it doesn't mean that we will not want to achieve more.
When we are on that path of ambition and we're learning, so one of the things we do is that we look at role models. We will look at people who have achieved good things, great things, financial abundance. And we say, oh, they work really hard, so I will work pretty hard. And, oh, they did all of this learning, so I will do the learning. And they did this, so I will do that. But those people also stopped, and they also reflected, and they also journaled. That was the thing that made the difference, where they understood themselves, when they gave themselves time to meet other people. You can't grow in a vacuum. It's really hard. You've got to meet other people. You've got to talk with other people. You've got to share your joy with people.
Yeah. Even like having fun, like we are human creatures. Like we really, okay, on the one side we want to be accepted, loved, and like all these things, but we need definitely more than career, than like networking. We need to fulfill our personality with the fun, with the different social activities, with the activities that are not related to the work. Because as far as we are just focused on our career, different aspects of our life would feel unfulfilled, and then it will impact on our career. Because once we are not happy, like we can't work as when we are like fully joyed, like I think the best example is like when we are having the vacation and we are totally forgetting like who we are, you know, like I really love that. For example, last week I was in Madrid. I totally forget who I am, you know, like in the terms of mindset coach, SEO consultant, you know, like any this career related things. And I was just like having fun. I didn't pay attention when I go to bed, when I'm waking up, you know, like I didn't pay attention to, you know, like what I eat, how much alcohol I do. But I really needed that part to fulfill. And then on Monday when I came, I was so even like more enjoyable. I was scheduled so many different recordings, calls, because now the work feels like even better once we are fulfilling other parts of our personality.
I think it's really important to keep a check on that energy. And as you said, having that week off, doing all the things that you were enjoying doing, you came back and you were more productive, more creative, more inspiring. So you need those things. So we used to think, work hard and be successful, and then I will be happy. But actually, if you work hard and be happy, you'll be successful.
Yes, I love that.
It's
Just
not
like
mine. I read it somewhere. I don't remember where I read it.
doesn't matter. I really love that. Okay, for the end of this episode, like what would you suggest, like people who are really looking towards first what they really want in their life and how to really achieve these things related to the success in terms of happiness, fulfillment, more freedom, more money, bigger career, doesn't matter, like how to really approach these things.
So, two ideas. Number one, ask yourself, if you knew that you had one day left, what would you do? I don't think it would be looking for another client or doing client work, and really pay attention to that. And the other is, before you go to bed, spend 5 minutes, just write about your day. Start gathering data on yourself. And you can also, you know, whenever I run courses, one thing I say is start looking in your past. Get your phone and look at which pictures you've taken, because that is going to show you what energized you. You're not going to take a picture of an SEO. You might take a picture of the sunset. You might take a picture of a loved one. You might take a picture of a meal you really enjoyed. Start gathering data on yourself and then make an informed decision about what you want to do, even in the last quarter of the year.
Yeah.
And start scheduling it in, because we say, oh, actually, you know what? I really want to spend more time with my friends. Okay, how much more time? Maybe in the last quarter, you want to spend one day a week or one evening a week with a friend. Put it in the diary. Just get it in, like you would do for client work, like you would do for meetings. Treat yourself as the most important resource that you, because you are the most important resource. So yeah, figure out what you want, take aligned action to make it happen, and just constantly reevaluate yourself.
Yeah, because I think definitely like SEOs are scared, oh, I don't have like enough time for everything, but like they are not considering how much important is just like small things, you know, like in the day. Like, you know, if you don't have time to go to the gym for 1 hour, you know, like do some exercises for 15-20 minutes. But, you know, like our brain works in that way. If I'm not getting it whole, I will not do anything. But that is not how we are helping ourselves in the direction that we want. So even like smaller things, you know, like really stopping and like trying to think about like on daily basis for 10 minutes, do I like this job? What do I really want? And then creating a plan how we are going to do this. Because if we are never changing anything and we are just like thinking and expecting that like life is going to be less busy, it will not. It will be constantly busy, but like how we are approaching these kinds of things is really our responsibility.
Yeah, it's taking ownership. You know, you have agency. Don't wait for somebody to come and say, oh, Adriana, you're working so hard. I think you should stop. Nobody's going to tell.
They will just put more.
It's more, it's a work. So take responsibility. And I think you mentioned exercise. Find ways of having fun. So this year, finally, I thought, okay, at this age, I'm going to join a gym. It's not worked for me in the past. However, I joined it because my friend goes there. We play racquetball 3 times a week. We laugh from beginning to end. Our husbands say to us, are you playing for points? And we say, no, we're just hitting the ball and running after it. That's all we're doing. And they say, oh, no, no, it's not good enough. You should play for points. And we say, no, we are laughing, we are running, we are enjoying. That's okay for us. One day, maybe we will play for points, but find a way to make it fun for you. And
Yeah.
then you'll feel good about anything that you do.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the last month because when we were kids, like we were playing dodgeball, and like that's like I was the biggest fan of that play of the game. But like after, like you don't have like a lot of opportunities to play dodgeball. And last month I was sitting in the park having my coffee, and I was like, why I wouldn't organize with the people that I know in my hometown, you know, like my brother, I will call my friends can bring the friends, and you know, like why we wouldn't organize the dodgeball by itself. And like it gave me so much energy, you know, like just like connecting with people, calling, and like it was nothing, you know, like we were just like having the Viber group, and like people were so obsessed with that idea, and like it gave so much energy for everyone, you know, like, and even like for me, even I was organizer about that, like, but I was feeling so much like creative for my work, you know, like because for the some time of my day I was focused on something totally different, something that was fun, something that hasn't been like producing anything smart in my life. And then when I came to my work, you know, like I was working much more creative, you know, like much more easier because, you know, like I had fun on the side.
Yeah. Energy doesn't lie.
Okay, Tasmin, thank you so much for today, for your energy, for the talk that we are having, and definitely I hope I will have you in the one of the next episodes.
And I would love to. Thank you so much.